On the podcast known as
Trapped Under Plastic, the podcast where Ninjon and Miniac try to convince us not to eat the paint, but they can't stop talking about how delicious it is.
Oh, it is. Oh, Mike, hello. Okay, yeah, that Vallejo game color, dude. So sweet, so tender. Did you guys like that intro, viewers? Yeah, John just joined the like this little call thing we have to do our podcast, and just started making ape sounds at me. And he was like, "Well, we just do that for the intro." And I was like, "I'm down."
If I'm honest, it happened a little too naturally, and like you jumped in just like 10 million years of evolution went out the window, and you immediately started going.
I know, we just regressed like so quickly.
Oh, God damn it, it felt good. So,
all right, let's jump into this Preamble Ramble with a story about me taking Zins, all right?
Zins.
Okay.
Zin are nicotine pouches.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those.
All our viewers know what Zins are, I guarantee it. I was with some friends. We were smoking some meats, and they had to go to the grocery store to get something, and I was left to watch the meat smoking, to tend to it, and I've never, ever consumed nicotine ever in my life. And my friend was like, "Hey, do you want to try one of these 6 milligram Zin packets?" And I was like, "Let's do it, sure." It was cinnamon flavored. I was like, hell yeah, I love cinnamon. And so he gave me one. Apparently, you get a different effect if you go on the top versus the bottom. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I put it on the top. I don't know if that's like more intense or less intense.
More intense.
Okay, makes sense. And so I could feel it immediately. I like started to melt into the chair that I was sitting in, and like I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't move. All I could do was I was holding on to this plane of existence for dear life. I was like slowly melting away. And long story short, I did not watch the smoking meat well, and it went out while they were gone.
No.
Oh, dude.
No.
It was intense. Like I haven't done it since, but no part of the experience was I would call enjoyable necessarily. It was more just like scary.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because it's supposed to be pretty, like it's calming. It's like it's supposed to be like a bit of euphoria, a little head rush kind of a thing. Although because if you get a 6 milligram pouch and you've never done anything before, that's heavy duty.
I know.
They make them in Zins. They make them in 6s and 3s. I would have given you a 3, which is in half.
Yeah.
And then just be like, you just like feel pretty good for 15 minutes. But poor meat. I'm sure it still got done, right?
Oh yeah. We lit it and it was fine. It's weird. I took the thing out and like within 15 minutes I was like totally fine. So it was so immediate, like in both directions. It was interesting.
Yeah. If we learned anything from the 1930s and 40s advertising, is that nicotine makes you cool and it relaxes you. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great for businessmen, because they're so stressed. It's great for housewives to relax at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Really, Zin isn't a sponsor, but
but they could be. No. It almost killed me. Anyways, check the link in the description.
Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we both came up with something to talk about in the Preamble Ramble because it just happened before the recording of this episode, and that was that the iconic artwork by legend John Blanche, Harry the Hammer, the original artwork that John Blanche did, sold at Christie's auction for 280,000 British pounds.
God damn. What's Christie's auction? Is this the thing that I should know about?
Yeah, Christie's is the most famous auction place that exists.
Okay.
It's been around for hundreds of years.
Okay.
Yeah, it is like if you are like the most legit shit, it goes at Christie's. Like
the most legit.
If you are not too legit to shit, you go to Christie's. Yeah, like Michelangelo's, Da Vinci's, Banksy's, all of them.
Okay.
Get sold at Christie's. I think Christie's was the auction where it was sold, where the Banksy's art piece was that when it sold, it went through its own paper shredder inside the frame.
That's so hardcore, dude. That's so hardcore. I love it.
I want to know British pounds to US dollars. So 280. What's this? Oh, okay. It's only like $76. No, I'm just kidding.
Doing some live math for you there, viewers.
28. How many zeros do I have here? Not enough. Okay. Actually, it's more. It's 37, just under $37.5 million.
$37.5 million. I think you mean $370,000.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know when England popped off most recently, but I don't think it was that hard.
Yeah, you guys would be like, props to your economy if that was the actual conversion rate, or ours sucks balls. Probably both.
A little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah. So almost 375,000. I was a little bit off, a couple zeros.
That's still an amazing amount for a piece of Warhammer art. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be the most iconic, because like Harry the Hammer was the first like introduction to a character that represents the world of Warhammer. Obviously, fantasy came before 40K by quite a bit, and so this is kind of and it's obviously the most iconic artists in the history of Warhammer.
Yes,
kind of synonymous with Warhammer. So there's prestige to the artist as well as the age of the piece. I don't know if John Blanche himself was the seller of the piece. I hope so. Probably not, though. Usually those kinds of things, you sell off your stuff earlier, it goes to somebody else, finds its way to somebody else. And anyway, who knows?
Signed and dated by Jay Blanche. So I wasn't playing Warhammer in like the 90s or 80s. So this piece of art I've never seen before. I wouldn't. It's not iconic to me. If I had to pick like the most iconic piece of Warhammer art, like for me, it'd be the image of Galmaraz, like the big fancy mace and the shield that it sits in front of that goes on the cover of the Warhammer Fantasy like rule book. And it was that image for like, I don't know, a decade or like a super long time. Like that was back in the day when Warhammer versions didn't update every 3 years. At least I don't think they did. Maybe my memory is not super good. But that one was iconic. Or like any one of like the second edition, third edition 40K Codex covers, those would be like iconic for me. Have you ever seen this piece of art before right now?
I have, but I think it's so long lost to my memory. I don't know where, but I have seen it. But it's not something that I look at that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the iconic piece of Warhammer art that I think of. It says it's the original box artwork from the first edition of Warhammer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Truly iconic then. Yeah, so this is very special. Also, shout out to Christy for uploading an incredibly high-res version of this image. You can click on it and zoom in so much. This is awesome. I'm going to just save this for my own devices.
My own. Oh, my God. You can get, like, the fine point dust dotting from the
You can see. I know. It's awesome.
1983, he painted this. Damn. And it says it's ink and gouache on Daller line and washboard. Yeah,
those are
how you get both the crisp definition to use for illustration for like a cover of something while still having that kind of art painterly color. So
yeah,
very cool. I'm curious who bought this. Probably some random rich person who doesn't even like shit.
Doesn't even like anything.
No, they don't like anything. They just want to have the money. It's like that movie. What's the second one? Is Glass Onion, where it's like just the rich dude that has the stuff, and they're trying to
Knives Out.
it. Knives Out. Yeah. He doesn't care about any of it. Yeah. All right, Scott. What do you know about gas station pizza?
Oh, we're talking about Casey's Pizza right now,
bro. Yes, we're talking about Casey's Pizza.
I know nothing.
Okay, so, as the Goody PPs, I'm sure are well aware, most gas stations, you can get the pizza slices there. They're in the little rotator thing or whatever. They make their own pizza. Quick Trip makes their own pizza. You can get pizza at Super America, whatever. And by and large, they are hot garbage. They're bad. They're bad. This week, I am reminded how freaking good Casey's Pizza is. It's a gas station. The one by my house is kind of in the ghetto, and it's sketchy. And when I went to pick up the pizzas, the lady that was working there had her cell phone out, was on a personal phone call on speaker, and a dude was yelling at her, and she was yelling back, and they were yelling about the different kinds of sauces you put on buffalo wings. And he was very adamant that lemon pepper was the king. This whole conversation happened while I'm going to pick up my pizza. She never actually said any words to me. That's what Casey's Pizza is like, ladies and gentlemen. But the pizza is so freaking good. Like, the quality of the cheese, you're not using frozen cheese. They put a lot on there. It's a thin crust without being crispy. It's got the flop. I like a little flop sometimes. It's a great flop pizza. It's got a little sweetness to the sauce. The quality of the ingredients. I got a loaded Hawaiian, so it has bacon and ham and the canned pineapples. Just legit. And I'm reminded that there is some good in the world, even in the places you least expect it.
Wow. Okay. So would you call this a 10 out of 10? Best pizza you've ever had?
No, not at all.
My God, the way you talk about it makes it sound like it is fucking legendary.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though.
Okay.
It's a gas station that does make pizza, but it's not like their selling point that, like, we're a pizza place. You can just get slices there. And their breakfast pizza, Cold Stop, the best breakfast pizza I've ever had in my life. And I am constantly on the search of a good breakfast pizza. They make the best breakfast pizza. But you can only get it in the mornings, which kind of sucks.
Okay.
But I'll say this. Of the, I think there's about 20 unique pizza places in the city that I live. It's top 5 in city for me. Top 5. Probably top 3.
That's incredible.
I come in at 3 or 4. And that sucks that that's the case. But
okay, that's a bad thing for Rochester, not a good thing for Casey's Pizza that they're top 3.
Dude, we used to have a Carboni's and it went out of business because it worked in the same like meth building that every place that is in that building closes. Every restaurant in that building closes because they keep hiring the same meth heads to work there. It's the worst customer service. But the Carboni's pizza was phenomenal. Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay. All right.
Anyway, all I'm saying is give gas station pizza a chance in your heart.
Okay.
In your tummy.
I would love to. When we were driving to Meeple-a-thon, we were going through Iowa. A lot of Casey's Pizzas.
Yeah.
Casey's gas stations in Iowa. And so we were thinking about it, but we ended up just stopping at a Buffalo Wild Wings, which was a mistake. But we already talked about that, you know.
Yeah, it was for a different reason. Maybe the Casey's Pizza would have done your beehole right.
yeah, sure. Sure. All right. I got some exciting news for really just me. Mindworks Games, just me. Mindworks Games got the license to Court of the Dead, which is a really cool, I don't even know, I call it an intellectual property that is created by Sideshow Collectibles, a company that just makes really awesome statues. And I remember when I first discovered this intellectual property, Court of the Dead, I was like, what is this? Is this a game? Is this a video game? Is this something other than just an excuse to make large miniatures? And it wasn't. It was literally just that. They had like a cool lore book with like history they all had made up, and I picked it up because the art was so awesome inside of it. And I remember like years ago when I found that like book and that little tiny world, I was like, this would make amazing miniatures. And then a little bit later, they came out with the game Court of the Dead, and it kind of sucked, but at least they had miniatures in it, but they also kind of sucked, so it wasn't amazing. But now Mindworks Games has the license for Court of the Dead, and they just made the first model with that IP, and it's like the biggest and baddest character that world has. I forget his name. Death Supreme. Oh, it's Death. Okay, yeah, it's Death.
Speaking of pizza, it's Death Supreme.
yeah.
He's got black olives.
He's got peppers. But holy cost, Batman! This thing not on sale is 160 euros. On sale, it's 120 euros. It's like, you know. It's got a big fancy, you know, not a big fancy base, but a little bit larger than normal base. And he looks like a 75 mil model. I would say he's got a big fancy base, but like 160 goddamn euros. That's nuts.
Well, like the biggest models for Creature Caster. Now, granted, haven't kept up on the pricing, but even years ago, they were 120 and 120, 140 bucks for the big ones. So, with the cost of inflation, that's. I don't know how big this model is though, but
it says it's 178 millimeter scale. Its figure height is 90 millimeter. And then background height, whatever background height means, is 110. I would assume that means with the base, it's 110. Sculpted by Romain van den Bogaert. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but very famous sculptor. And it doesn't say who painted it.
I thought I saw who painted it on Instagram. It's somebody you've heard of.
Okay.
I can't remember which Spanish or Italian guy, but one of those. So 90 mil is the model. So that's like 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches. So that's
a big
it's not
75.
that big.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that. It's not like the big display figure's big, but it's sizable for a model. I don't love this sculpt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the flames. They feel a little heavy-handed to me.
Yeah.
He is very cool and detailed. The character concept I think is cool, but you can't help but look at a model through the perspective of painting the model when it's a display model for painting, and this looks miserable to paint.
Yeah, it's not the best. But here's why I'm really excited, because there are other characters that look fucking badass, and I'm going to share one with you right now, and I'll give it to Alex so he can show you guys as well. I'll put it in the chat for our Riverside. It's a character called Kier. Copy image link. Let's go. She's a fallen angel. Her wings have been cut off, so she has stubs on the back. And I would love this figure to paint. And there are so many different versions of it too, like different poses and stuff. Like here's another one that I think actually is a little bit cooler than that one. But I love the helmet. I love the giant ass sword. I just like bad women. She's got
a lot less bullshit going on than he does. Although you can see her breastplates, her shoulder pads, her knee stuff, all that does also have a lot of fiddly little details in it.
Yeah. I think in the world of action figures and statues and stuff like that, they really fucking send it.
Yeah, and I think it works to their advantage there because it makes it feel a bit more high end, high quality, high detail. But they're not relying on the painting to sell the figure there. Whereas for these, where the painting is really what's going to sell it. So, but yes, I prefer her to him in terms of what the potential is for the paintable sculpt. When I see this first one though, it worries me that they're not gonna change enough based on the medium. I want you to be open to simplifying and finding what are the core elements, the core visual connectors to who that is, and then cut the chaff. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that because I am going through that process right now, and we'll discuss that in the hobby section. But yeah, I'm excited. Needless to say,
I'm excited too. All right, no, on that one I don't want to talk about because we're going to do that for the main topic. Okay, so one thing that I did this last week, I did a video where I kind of look back at every product that Games Workshop makes and kind of gave it my honest feedback after having used it and some of these things for many, many years. And I had some points that, because of the length of the video, I couldn't really dig into too much on the Games Workshop paint range. In the after party today, I'm going to talk more specifically about my thoughts about Games Workshop paint. I think that might be worthy of its whole entire video. But I don't understand. There's a logical business decision, but I don't understand why Games Workshop does not make paint sets at all. They do not make paint sets. They don't make a faction paint set. They don't make a starter paint set that is actually you get a paint set with 15 paints, and it's what you need to start. They have you get a Space Marine plus the little half pots that aren't even their regular pots of paint. And those things I don't know if they've made those for years even. Like, it's been a while since they did that. Those are like come and go. It's just so weird to me. You can't just like buy their entire range as a set. It's like this elusive thing that they don't want you to be able to see everything or to be able to wrap your hands around it in a way that like literally everyone else does and every customer would appreciate it existing. It makes no sense to me. But they have to do it for a reason. Like, they're not like just like, oh, we just spaced on that. Like, oh, we didn't think of that. No. Those conversations have happened over the years, and they specifically say no, we're not doing it. So why are they saying that? Have you thought about that? What's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that they don't want to sell paint at a discount, at a bulk discount. So they don't put it in sets. Because they have had a starter set in the past, but they just haven't had one for a while, right? Like, you did the review on my channel, and one of the sets you tested was the GW one, and I believe they came in normal paint pots then, but that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, but it was a faction paint set for I think it was Ultramarines. I can't remember, but
it might have been Stormcast.
Might have been Stormcast. I think it was Stormcast, but that was a thing. And I think those were full size, but almost every other time they're not. And again, it's not a consistent thing. And like, here's my thought. I don't think it's about cutting their profit margin on that's the worry. I think it's they want you to constantly go back to their shop to get the paints one or two at a time. They want to trickle feed you because that gets you in the door. That gets you to the store. Okay. They want you to go in those shops. Or like even if you're online ordering, it's like the reverse candy bars at the checkout counter at the grocery store. It's impulse buy. It's kind of like an impulse buy, but it's the other way around. I'm actually going to buy the Snickers bar, and I ended up picking up a fucking 8-pound ham while I was in the grocery store. That's what they're hoping you do. They're hoping you go in for the Snickers bar and you leave with a full Thanksgiving dinner worth of shit, which is another model. Looking at new armies, seeing the expensive stuff, getting back into the more purchases. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
If I had to bet money on it, that is the financial business decision why they're doing that. And it boggles my mind.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy if that is the case. I mean, is it from a business perspective, is it crazy? No. But yeah, the level to which they're thinking about human psychology, if that is the case, is it's pretty wild.
Right. Weird thing. I'm gonna dig into this more in the after party, but I need to tease it because maybe then someone will sign up for the Patreon. Games Workshop's not even close to the most expensive paint anymore. In fact, they're one of the cheapers.
I find that crazy to believe.
Crazy to believe. I did too. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Now, not price per milliliter, because remember, their bottles have less paint in them. I kind of throw that out the window, though.
Why? That's like the only quantitative way to measure it. That's how you measure it.
You measure it by one purchase.
No.
So right. No. Like, okay, how many bottles of Rhinox hide are you going through in your life?
I mean, I don't paint with GW like that much. So
how many? The favorite paint, your Trini's green from Scale 75. How many have you gone through in your life? And you paint a lot.
The most popular paint I have probably purchased in my life between 3 and 4 times.
3 and 4 times.
Like like black, like for instance. Does that not count? Does black not count?
That counts, but I also strongly advocate you never buy Games Workshop black or white. So that it counts, but it kind of doesn't because you shouldn't buy theirs anyway.
You're fucking up anyways.
Right. But like your average paint, the average paint on your wall in your rack, you're buying one time in your life, maybe two. And so I think that's like 12 mil versus 15 mil. Like, yeah, that's something. It's not nothing. I'm not, and like pro acryl paints have closer to twice as much paint in them than they do half. But
I understand your point, though.
But the bottle, the price per bottle, it's cheaper.
Right.
It's cheaper than most paints. Now, once you get them in sets, if you were to buy the full range of something, then that you can't do in GW. So again, they're going to nickel and dime you there by not buying in bulk, but just buying one single paint. I was shocked, and it seems to be it's not that Games Workshop has lowered their prices. It's that last time I remember really looking closely at this was about somewhere between 5 or 6 years ago. Games Workshop prices on their paints haven't gone up in that amount of time. They have stayed firm. Everyone else has risen to surpass or meet them for the most part. But surprising. We'll dig into that more in the after party.
All right. Look forward to it.
Okay. I came to this realization, a really sad one this week as I was recording my video. I went into my closet and I to get out my totes that I keep my models in, and I found I had like 5 totes that looked like this.
Big boy totes. Okay.
Big boy totes. No, it's not that I had 5 big boy totes. I have like 8 big boy totes, but I had 5.
Oh, no.
That were completely gray. Built
Like,
models.
how many of these?
5.
Of just so not armies, just like tons of all kinds of models.
No, they're all armies.
Oh, no. 5? What are the 5 armies you got?
It's not 5 armies. It's 5 totes full of models. And and they're all have a layer of dust on top of all of them. And
How?
Well, actually, they stack on top of each other. So just the top one had all the dust. But they hadn't been opened most of them hadn't been opened in 2-3 years. And I came to the realization, the biggest way we get our piles of gray is from fucking armies we never paint. Armies we start and we don't do.
Yeah.
Since I basically have like stopped the pressure on myself to paint armies to play with, my backlog of stuff is tiny compared to what it used to be. Because you just bought and then you built so you can play with it, or you tell yourself you're going to play with it, and then they take up so much more space, and they're not painted, and they take up space, and they just sit there. And it's just like, I don't think I'm the outlier in this either. I think I'm the norm more than the exception.
I mean, that's the lie we always tell ourselves, that we are the normal person. But I think scientists could examine Ninjon's relationship with miniature war gaming specifically, because on this podcast, you have gone from hot to cold so many times. You're like, I'm going to start this new army. And then you're like, I don't think gaming's for me. And then you're like, I like 40K orcs. And then you're like, GW doesn't know how to write rules. And it's like, dude. Okay.
I'm all of them. I think it was
what's it now? Are you a gamer?
Just last episode, I think I said I wanted to sell my Night Lord's army. To start a new Night Lord's army.
Yeah, you did. You said that. And then I was like, don't do that. You don't play games.
So I think that.
Are you doing that still?
That single sentence I just said probably encapsulates how they'll listen to anything I say.
Oh, my God.
Now, in my brain, it makes logical sense, and I actually still feel that way.
You're a gamer, yeah. You play games, just not miniature war games.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I play a lot of games. It just happens to be that none of them are made by Games Workshop.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how I feel. I'm just like, damn it. I got so many. I got a whole Night Haunt army. I've got another probably 3,000 points or more of just built Soulblight Gravelords, and that's not counting the dozen boxes of unbuilt of the new shit that they brought out in the last year and a half or 2 years that I haven't even built. I've got, I don't know. I've got a whole box full of random chaos stuff for 40K that could be a variety. I could use it for whatever I wanted. It's very versatile. I've got a whole nother box of unpainted Death Guard stuff. I do have one of those totes filled, every square inch filled with painted zombies when I painted 200 zombies.
Oh,
whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I opened that one up, and goddamn, that felt good to open. I was like, oh my God, look at these zombies. I got to do something with those. Not for a fucking game. I need to clip them off their bases and make a Roman the Pot diorama with them.
Oh, yeah. That'd be cool. That would pain me, though, to take them off their bases, because they are 200 legit game-ready zombies, which would probably just be like a list, and you could run like right now.
And zombies are always useful. You know?
Yeah.
And they look good. They look properly nasty and gnarly, and they're not painted to a super, super high level, but there's a lot of techniques used in them that I'm happy with how they look. So maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should buy 200 more zombies. And
yeah, dude, run it back, dude.
Yeah, run it back.
You know, that's interesting. Is there any part of you that looks back on your older YouTube videos? Because you're definitely starting to get into like the, what is it, 5 years on YouTube, something like that now?
Yeah, 5. It's been over 5 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you look back on that time with nostalgia at all? Like, oh, I loved it. You look at your old videos, you're proud of a video you made or the accomplishment you made in that video or stuff like that?
When I look back, for the most part, I see how I hadn't figured it out and I was just doggy paddling my way. And I see the stuff I don't like or I would have done differently. But what I do look back at with pride is the putting in the work for really heavy lift videos. That's a good example. Building and painting 160 zombies, I think is what it was for that video, in 48 hours or something dumb like that. Or doing an entire army video. Like just the real sheer quantity lifts are a quality in and of themselves because of how much work and how many hours they take. I respect that. And I also look back at that and say, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I mean, every now and again, you get the like, it would do well. You need to find the right wave to hit that excites you enough to want to do it. And,
yeah, for sure. If we get new, what else? Oh my God, yes, I am very nostalgic. There's a lot of videos that I put a lot of effort, a lot of myself into them, and so I will look at the thumbnail and be like, that felt good. Like one, for instance, is the battle report that I did for A Song of Ice and Fire. Like that video with Curtis was so fucking hard to do. There's so many different shots in there. Like the video is like terabytes of footage, and it was like a lot of effort, and so that it feels good to see that video in my feed for sure.
Yeah. There's certainly those that were like you look back and it was like, oh, there was a labor of love to do that. And then you try not to get jaded and think about how everything is just what matters, what you're doing next.
Right. Yeah. On to the next thing. Yep.
Yeah. It is it's a legit, YouTube is such a legit grind. And I think somewhere in the last year, I finally have felt that. I have felt like I have just like been able to take a step back from myself and say, this is so much work. And it's I'm not saying concerning like, oh, I'm going to stop, but I'm saying like you have to be really aware of that. And sometimes there's so little you do because you have to make sacrifices and prioritize, just like anybody that owns their own business in their life that they do. Like you can't be everything to everyone and do this. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bit of a different video instead of my normal end of year retrospective because on January 6th, it'll have been 10 years since I uploaded the very first video to my channel. And so I'm just I doubt this video will do well, but I thought it was interesting. I'm doing 10 lessons that I learned about just the hobby and YouTube for 10 years on YouTube. And one of those lessons is knowing who and when to say no to people, just because there are just so many opportunities on the platform that you just have to prioritize like what you want to do. Otherwise, you're just constantly giving up creative freedom to people, and you don't even realize it. Honestly, it's just it's one of those weird things.
Yeah, and it's not even just like specifically with the YouTube video. It is, it's everything that surrounds it in like the stuff that's going on. People asking for your help on this, or will you come here for this, or will you do this? And early on, I think for both of us, like you just said yes to everything because you're just so happy,
so excited,
right? And you feel honored that someone would ask you, and so you just say yes. And then at some point, you've been going too far from saying yes all the time before you turn around and you're like, I am gonna implode if I continue to do that. So yeah, usually you have to hit not rock bottom, but you were nosediving it into the cliff before you realize you can't do that, and then it just feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then your day is sprinkled with negativity of like feeling bad that you can't do everything and you've got to say no or you've got to whatever. And yeah, it's trying to navigate that minefield too of like what's the right decision, because there's nobody there to make the decision but you, and that's draining in and of itself. That every final decision is your final decision. So
right,
that's a part of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they think about YouTube, they think about it's like a sprint. And it's like, but if it's always a sprint, then every YouTube career lasts 4 years, and then you just die. It's like how do you do YouTube for 20 years? Like that's the interesting question I think you have to answer, so you can last that long, because we're trying to do this as a career. It's a job. Or
maybe you have to PewDiePie it. You don't do it for 20 years. You do it for 10, and
isn't
you
he still doing it?
out. No.
I think he is.
I mean, he's said he was retired or semi-retired or something.
Yeah, I don't think he makes like his traditional gaming videos anymore, but he definitely uploads between 2 and 4 videos a month on his channel still.
Okay, well that's
not the same grind. I think in the past it was like way more content, like very frequently. So
yeah. Is you find that, like, because your passion for putting something out in the world, and your passion for the whatever your topic of choice is for that your channel focuses on, if you can't do it full time, then it has a lifespan, and it will inevitably fall. That for most people, okay, because there are examples in the world that aren't that, and namely, I'm talking about Vince Venturella. But most people, like, you can't juggle it forever. And then if you do it full time, then it's like, well, how long can your passion stay with it? Because that's then your finite resource, and maybe it stays forever. Again, Vince Venturella. Or maybe it doesn't. You just don't know. And like finding ways when you're not feeling it to keep at it, and then not let that eat away at you. I think the sprint example you said is such a good one, because YouTubing is kind of like a sprint, but a marathon. You're sprinting a marathon.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that doesn't usually end well. But
I bet for you right now, it especially feels that way, because you're doing your normal YouTube schedule while also doing a product launch at the same time, which just is a whole other part-time job. So you're probably working 60 hours a week, or like maybe even more in some situations. So
the last 6 months, 60 hours has been a minimum.
Yeah. So doing that for 6 months, that's psyche killing right there for me. It was.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And it's I am looking forward, because I'm just now getting on the clouds are lifting, and
nice.
All the main stuff is off of my back, and gone to printers to get final pricing by the end of this week, and then I'm in line for production. So it's I think my last major decision on box design. I made 3 more tweaks over the last 24 hours, little minor things that no one will even notice or care about, that I wanted slightly tweaked, and a little font change and font letter spacing, like these little things. But once that is then now all off my plate, and so that'll be nice. But then there's part of it is excitement of then it's like, oh, then it's a real thing, and then I actually get to use it. That's the thing. That's the whole point of why I did this, because I wanted to use it, so I get to use it and that kind of thing. So that'll be cool when I finally get my first printing sample in hand. That'll be finally feel like it's a real boy. So
love that.
One final thing I want to talk about real quick. Have you seen, or did they send you the Trench Crusade plastic kits?
I did not get sent them, but I've seen that box also sold by Mindworks Games. I don't know if they're the sole seller of that box. That wouldn't make any sense. But I haven't got that. But it looks fucking sick. I saw Louise Sudgeon painted one of the characters in that set, and she did an amazing job.
Yeah, Sam Lenz did too. That same character.
I haven't seen Sam's. That is
look his up.
I will.
He brought that with him to play Trench Crusade at VincyCon, and like his models for his warband look so goddamn good. I bring it up because these are manufactured by Archon Studios, and Archon Studios has kind of positioned themselves, and I think this is a very good thing for the market, to have a legit quality in-house plastics facility that I'm not saying goes toe-to-toe with Games Workshop plastics, but it's in the same conversation.
Does it not?
Same extended family. It's and why I specifically think these really showcase the quality of the plastics is that the sculpt, like this is the first ones or some of the first ones I've seen produced by them where I really feel like the quality of the sculpt is there. So then you can you know that it's not the manufacturing material that's holding it back. And so you can simply let it sit on that, you know, on the weight of the quality of the plastics.
Yeah.
And they are not as good as GW, but if GW is an A, these are a B plus, like
Okay.
2 steps back. Like they're really, really good and they fit together super well. They're very like if the sculpt is made for 32 mil and you're using that heroic scale and you're not over designing and there's the crispness on the small details is there, like world's your oyster, man. Like I'm glad that Archon Studios exists because it gives other companies other opportunities to bring stuff in that quality level. Because I 3D printed a bunch of Trench Crusade and I've painted them and I loved them and I think they're great because the sculpt is great. It aids itself to the 3D printing. But these are equally as, I mean, these look better than my 3D prints, but not about the same. Maybe a little bit better.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And they just heard word that they have 3 more plastic kits that are going to be coming out in March.
Yeah,
So they're
they showed the
extending their
concept.
range.
They showed the concept arts for those pieces, and they're cool, man. Like they understand the world of Trench Crusade, and they're leaning into it in a I think is a very successful like aesthetic like way. Oh, I didn't realize this just kind of aside. This lady has a giant executioner's blade. It has no tip on it. It's just a big fat piece of rectangular metal. That's so badass.
I know.
I love it. I think it's cool. I know they're so popular that they've gotten to this place where they have a small cadre of haters. So like I painted a Trench Crusade model for a recent video and literally never mentioned Trench Crusade other than in the very beginning when I was like, I'm going to paint this model. I haven't painted one yet. Never mentioned it again. And there's like 4 people who are like, there's nothing I hate more than taxes and Trench Crusade. And it's like, dude, it's just a cool model. Fucking relax. So
Yeah.
do you know what the deal is? Why people hate Trench Crusade?
I do know what the deal is.
Oh, dude, tell me the deal.
Oh, okay. I hope I'm not wrong, but this is this is how I understand it. It's a political thing, and it's 180 from what I would have expected. Because when you think of the aesthetic, you think of the lore, you think of the world, you think of what's being represented in Trench Crusade. It is very grim, fascisty, nasty version of history. Well, Trench Crusade and the creators, they made a big political post that they were leaving Twitter and they were going to Blue Sky and they don't agree with all these blah, 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 whatever political reasons. It's a very left-leaning, very hard left. And I think some pretty pointed comments in that messaging and how they positioning themselves. And I think the pushback is people being like, what are you doing? Like, it feels so out of place based on the game and the models in the world that you are a part of. Not that, but that you should be posturing so much politically in one way or the other and leave that out of the gaming stuff space. And I think people are upset with that. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I haven't dug into it further than that, but that's my surface level understanding of where this all stemmed from and why some people are really mad at it for that reason. So
okay, all right, did not know that. I don't even know what fucking
I'm
Blue
wearing a
Sky
fucking
is.
Trench Crusade shirt right now.
I was gonna say I saw that earlier. I saw the C and the Iron Cross. Yeah, okay, cool.
Oh no! Oh, here comes the hate in the comments.
Oh god. Yeah, no, very cool models. Love that they're doing plastics. I'm excited to see, honestly, where they go with their range.
they have a design aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
That is so hard to do on a brand new IP and things across multiple factions that there's quite a lot of variety, and it feels like it's part of the same world. That is very difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
We don't see that. And it took decades for Games Workshop to define their design aesthetic to be so tight and so crisp and clean and in line as it is today. It's not the way it was in the 90s and even in the most of the 2000s. But they got there. The fact that like they're jumping off basically from square one with a really strong design aesthetic, and that like you could look at a model and not have ever seen it before. And if you're familiar with the miniature hobby industry, miniature gaming industry, you could probably say that's a Trench Crusade model. And that's a cool thing to me. You know?
Yeah.
So
yes, absolutely. Totally agree. I think it's a very cool thing they're doing. And like the new models coming out are just new material in that same design language. And it's very cool.
All right, let's get on to our TUP Partners. Thanks, TUP Partners, for your support and for being a part of Trapped Under Plastic. First one is Game Envy. We love Game Envy. I'm actually gonna be on the phone call with Kit, the owner of Game Envy, later today because I love him so much. What a nice guy. Make amazing hobby tools, hobby holders, the Lucent Hobby Light, and of course the Game Envy wet palette.
Next on the list is Cobalt Keep, maker of all sorts of cool hobby tools, but namely a lot of magnet accessories, cool clear cases that are various sizes that fit all kinds of things. Single models, great for gifts, large cases for units. They're stackable. They also have awesome accessories that work with magnets for miniature holding, like little small ones that are great that have little stands, but also big complicated ones with like crazy tentacle arms that have like magnifying glass and LEDs on them. And then also, of course, the most infamous thing, or famous, I should say, not infamous, is their bases that fit their magnets super well. Awesome, great magnet accessories.
Yeah, I recently someone asked me like, if there was something for the hobby that someone would get you for a holiday gift, what would you ask for? And my immediate response was a bunch of Cobalt Keep bases, the ones that because they come with the magnets. And like, if I had a massive quantity of those, a variety of sizes, so every time I built a new model, I would just put it on a Cobalt Keep base, I would be a happy little boy.
Dude, you put them in your little apothecary. You have like little shelves and just pull them all out. Oh my God.
I know. And so just every single time you built a model, it had the perfect magnetized base that the magnet was never going to fall off or get unclipped. You never have to rebase your models, or you have to use green stuff and super glue to get a freaking magnet on there that inevitably snaps off later. Like, that's what I'd want.
Yeah.
That's what I'd want. Next up, Monument Hobbies. You know Monument Hobbies. You love Monument Hobbies. I got the new Wizard Butt paints in the mail. And there's a variety of new colors in there, and they're all called Wizard Butts. You don't know what paint they are. And there's some like joy to that where it's just like, this is something like a deep, rich, cold green. Let me put it on my palette and test it. And it's just like part of the exploration is not having a name, because we associate name with purpose. And, Monument Hobbies really comes up with a lot of awesome creative products like that. So Monument, check them out.
Last for this segment is Iwata, the maker of John and I's probably most used airbrush, the HPCS and the HPBH. Love those brushes. I use my HPBH on basically every single model that I paint, from, simple things like base coating and priming to more complicated things like all kinds of shading and highlighting and more complicated stuff as well. It's honestly an incredible daily driver tool for me. I love it the most out of all the brands out there. They're dependable tools for beginners and pros alike.
Hobby update. Scott, you been doing any hobbies since last episode?
Yes. Kind of a little bit of a tease. So I finished the Star Schlock Mini. I should get you a picture of that so you can actually see it.
Schlock.
The base is kind of it's kind of funny looking because I was inspired by the artwork that I showed you last time as well. But I'm also working on a model that is under a strict-ish NDA. I can't talk about it. I think maybe this episode might come out the exact same day as my video on it. but I'm not sure. And I don't want to take that risk talking about it because I have a bad history with not listening to NDAs. But I can say that it is from a very popular company that everyone knows, and they don't typically make video games, but they are making a video game. And so I worked with Jordan Cuffey to make a model for this company, and I'm painting it right now. And I did what you mentioned before. We took a model that was a highly detailed video game character, lots of details, and we had to convert it into a 32 millimeter model. And you have to pick and choose what details are important so that the important details of the intellectual property translate at scale while leaving behind all the other bullshit that doesn't really matter, And because of the tight timeline, I wasn't able to do as much of a persnickety, rounds of feedback as I would want to be able to do because I start painting it, like every like iteration of that model is like an extra 2 days for like Jordan to go and change stuff, me to print it out. It takes like 4 hours to do that. So yeah, we had to kind of just cut it and run. But I'm excited about it. It's a cool opportunity.
That sounds very cool. I'm excited to watch that one to see what it is.
Yeah,
exciting.
How about you?
For me, well, in the last 2 weeks since our last episode, I had to edit all the footage on the dark water models, and then I had a quick turnaround for another video this week, which I didn't actually do painting with. It was just the breakdown of every Games Workshop product line and my review from years of using them and alternatives if I think they're not good. So what's good, what to avoid, and what are the alternatives. So there was not a lot there, but I actually have been set up on my desk, got all my paints out, everything's ready to go to get back to work on the Golden Demon project.
Ooh.
Because that's the thing that has been really the sort of Damocles over my head of like, especially with the deck of many colors work and stuff, I'm like, am I going to be able to get this piece done this year? I'm behind compared to what I was in prior years. However, I still want to push. I still want to do it. So I'm getting back to it today. So I'm pretty excited. I know my path of action, and I'm going to do a video on this piece for my next video. So I get most/all of next week to just paint. So it's going to be fun.
Okay, very cool. There is one last hobby thing that I have been working on for a couple of weeks now. I'm trying to make a new model, and I love the world of Dune, and so I wanted to be inspired by my favorite house in Dune, which is House Carino. I love royalty for some reason. I love how it's just evil and like kind of low key evil, like they're not gonna let you see how evil they are, and so I just love that vibe so much. And so I wanted to make maybe my version of a Sardaukar, maybe my version of an Opal Palace guard. Opal Palace is the main big palace on Kaitin, which is Carino's homeworld. And so like some kind of like guard, but like or warrior soldier, but like kind of a high ranking one. And have you seen any of these pictures at all?
Have I seen? Are you gonna post a link for me?
Absolutely.
Making me imagine in my head.
No. Sorry. I thought maybe you had seen. I had a Patreon post where I was showing off some of the work.
I've seen those.
Okay. So yeah, just I'll toss them in Facebook real quick here, just because I have that open right now. And you guys will also see this on the video version of the podcast. But we started from a place like this. I actually got a concept artist who worked on the video game Dune Awakening to do my art for me on this guy. And so I gave him a bunch of images on a mood board, a bunch of describing words, a lot of like, specific things like I like this weapon, I like this piece of armor, I like this head, I like this detail, include all these things. And this is the first thing that he kind of like, produced. Pose is a little static. There were a lot of little things about it that I didn't like. I want to make this model 32 millimeter. And so there was some detail simplification that I went through. Like I got rid of some panel lines and stuff like that. I wasn't a huge fan of, again, the static pose.
Yeah, I look at this more as the concept than what the final pose would be, and strictly from the concept of the amount of detail and what is, the striking outlines and everything. It is really good. It has a lot of potential.
I know it does. So here's my question for you. And be honest with me, because we're still developing this concept right now. We're on version 3, which I'll show you guys in the good PPs. Does this feel like a Dune thing? Maybe a little bit of a royalty Dune thing, soldier? Does it give those vibes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't like in a really good way, in that if I didn't know this was Dune, I still think this is a badass looking character.
Okay.
He doesn't feel like you have to know to appreciate.
Okay.
But if you're like, yeah, this is from a royal house in Dune, you're like, yep, that tracks. Like, I could see that. Like, this feels enough of in that universe to fit without it necessarily like beating you over the head with it, right? Oh, we don't have the little nose thingy on that they're on Arrakis, like that kind of a thing, the obvious stuff. I also just think like that's a really fucking cool head.
Yeah, I know. I love like the gold things on his chin and his head and his top knot and shit. Right. Yeah, I love all that stuff.
There are certain aspects to this that I actually think those gold things and actually the hex patterns.
Yep.
On some of his stuff that I don't think I'd actually put those in the sculpt. I think you'd either have someone freehand them or they don't exist.
Okay.
So they can choose not to paint them, because otherwise, especially the gold things, you're like, that wouldn't actually have a texture that would be like a painted on thing. And the hex things, they do break up the fabric, and I think they actually really add, but I don't know if that little shallow detail, maybe it is fine. I have to really almost like print out both and see what I felt. But yeah, the minimal amount of like bullshitty detail is great. Like the shoulder pad and the belt are the only things that have some tiny fiddly details on them, and I think that works.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned those two things, the hex pattern and the plates on his head, because one feedback I had was I need the plates on his head to actually like they're coming out physically from his skull, because I really do like that detail of the model, and I do want it to be a sculpted element. And the hex pattern, I was like, we have to make this hex pattern bigger because it will not render the 32 mil. Like it just needs to be like larger.
Good call.
And then so the next image I just sent you was a repose. So we kind of took it back a little bit to a more simplified image with a different pose, trying something else out. I sent an image of Darth Maul along, who has a similar kind of weapon, this double-bladed kind of pole arm thing. And this pose for me, it didn't feel right. It felt a little awkward how he was leaning backward. But there were some other changes, though. I gave him like his left arm has a larger gold fan brace, no half sleeve, fully bare, bigger gun, stuff like that. But I wasn't a fan of this pose. And then this third image that I'm sending right now, this was the banger that was like, okay, this pose is what I like this one. I love the leg movement. I love it's simple. He's not in an attacking pose. It's still kind of more of a static one. Nice open chest. Thighs are too long. Arms not beefy enough. There are some things like that I want to make some changes to. And I've already sent that feedback, but I think
the pose itself, the pose feels regal.
Exactly. Yes. It feels regal. 100%.
He has. I don't know if this was the intention or not of this pose. He has a dueling pose. The way his right foot is forward and his gun hand is up. He looks like he's entering a duel, but he's got that sweet blade, so you get some 3 dimensions of that coming across from the back. The movement of that front skirt, that's a big add. I really like that.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah. I really dig this. I actually do think the shoulder pad should go back to the left arm, though.
Yeah.
I think that could get real tight in there otherwise and lose the clean line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig this pose. This looks like a great pose to paint, too.
Exactly. Yes. The point of this model is I want this to be 32, and I want this to be like a model that people can use to like learn how to paint miniatures. And I don't know the best way to like make a model for that. I'm trying to keep the details low. I'm trying to keep the pose open. I want a full head. I don't want it to be like covered by a beard or a hood or a helmet. A variety of materials. We have this metal. We have this weird pleather, leather stuff. We have fabric. So I'm trying to make it a good model for like showcasing a lot of different things. Maybe not great for beginners, but I guess that's really what it is, showcasing stuff.
I think it's perfectly obtainable to get this model, if this was a model, to look good as a beginner though too, because it's you may not understand all the lighting things and all that kind of stuff, but even if you think about it from a strictly even a contrast paint perspective, like there's enough panels and shapes that are defined that you have room to grow on, like the big chest plates and then that swooping cloth, skirt and that kind of thing. But they're not overly detailed, right? Yeah, I dig it.
Absolutely. Well, that's cool. Glad to hear that you're feeling some of the same things as me with
Right.
the dueling pose and the regal thing. And it's interesting we talk about Trench Crusade because the person who's going to sculpt this for me, his name on Instagram is JK Remo. He is one of the sculptors for Trench Crusade. And so I am super excited to have someone who's got serious 32 millimeter sculpting chops to work on this model for me, because I've never really dipped my toes into that world very much at all. Jordan Cuffey with Skullforge is the biggest version of that I've ever like really kind of worked with. But I'm really excited to see what this guy does with this concept when it's done.
But you're not going to be able to sell this
Why not?
because it's Dune IP.
I mean, this is not a thing that exists in the world of Dune at all. It's just inspired by it.
Okay.
This is totally original.
I had two different artists that for my deck of many colors that they did a lot of that exactly Dune, of stuff that's doesn't exist but is their inspiration and that they did 2D art of, and they were not comfortable with selling it in any capacity, even though it was not characters. So
I'm comfortable.
Something to look into. But yeah, I mean, if you don't advertise it in any way as it being a Dune model,
yeah, I'm not gonna
like
put
I'm
that.
inspired by, just like anyone's like, I'm inspired by Star Wars and I'm inspired by Starship Troopers, and that's how they made fucking Tyranids and stuff. Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that works, as long as I guess I didn't quite gather that it wasn't at all this aesthetic existed somewhere within the world.
Yeah, there's no visuals of an opal palace guard like anywhere.
Cool.
Cool. Just inspired.
That's good. That's good to hear. That my final thing on this, and this is the thing that I think that you already mentioned, but like something you really want, I think, could pay close attention to, is that pistol. I still think it's too small, but you don't want it like a giant Space Marine bolter, but it has to have enough weight to it that it carries some level of importance and like, a pivotal point in the piece. Right now it feels, and it obviously is just a design sketch, but like it feels like,
I know it feels a little too weenie. Yes, and
it's
it felt
super weenie.
Yeah, it felt that way in the first concept. I told him to make it bigger, so the second one it got a little bit bigger. And then I sent him a sci-fi pistol that I really liked the look of, and then it got weenie again. And I was like, uh-oh. So yeah, it is supposed to be a big thing with this guy. This character has, he's got a pistol. I want to make it look cool. So yeah.
You know what you could do? The dueling pistols from like the 1800s. So they came in sets of 2 dueling pistols. And because this is a dueling pose, look at some pictures of those, because they have some length to them. They're not super weenie and little, but you could like,
it's just like a long one.
They're kind of long. They're not like long. They're not like sawed off shotgun long, but they have enough girth and length to them that just like when someone's in that pose, it carries more power than if someone was like holding a 9mm pistol from today. Like, it doesn't carry that same weight. So like look at those and maybe even ask him like, make a sci-fi version of this. Right. So it has that feel, but it feels futuristic, because then it would give that impression it kind of sells the story of him in a duel too. Right?
I'm imagining like a sci-fi flintlock right now, and it's like,
Yes.
chink, and like it like fires off some like las bolt or something like that. Yeah.
You gotta put in a brand new Duracell AA every time.
Yeah. It's like shooting off shells, but then it's batteries or something like that. That's cool. I actually like that a lot.
I mean, if that's not like a cyberpunk futuristic, like end of the world Mad Max-esque style of weapon, I don't know what is.
Right, because it's like kind of still wasteful and like bad, but still sci-fi. Yeah, that feels definitely like Mad Maxy kind of.
Yeah, utilizing found materials from the old world in
Yeah.
a new makeshift way.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, you got to get those double Ds for that shotgun.
yeah. Got a big old lithium-ion battery in there. It's like a magazine.
Oh yeah. All right, I'm all for this. That needs to exist. All right, that's your next model.
All right, sick. So yeah, that's my next model. Goody peepees. Be on the lookout for that.
All right, speaking of model, let's get on to our mini patron critique. And this comes to us by Chris Newmeyer. This is Ionis Cryptborn. Ionis Cryptborn. He's got a lot of pictures here. That's good. Nice. We get a lot of angles. This is a big model, a heavy lift. So I appreciate you putting in the hours. I know how many hours a model like this takes to do. So I'm going to first put on my dragon hat, and I'm going to look at the dragon.
Okay.
There's a level of shine to this model that bothers me a bit. I think that's likely because you use some form of a contrast paint or a speed paint for that burgundy, that Ron Burgundy color for the dragon. I do really like that as a base tone for the dragon. I would have probably done that whole contrast step and then hit it with the matte varnish because it has all that shine and there's all that detail in the wings. It's hard to see what was extra layers of paint and what is just reflection. And then it looks like there's a level of dusty dry brushing that's been put over this whole thing. And I know it's a lot, and I don't expect you to necessarily do it everywhere, but I would like you to define scales, shapes, important things, especially on the claws, on his face, the big scales on the back of his neck. Really go through those tightly and define every edge of each of those defined scales. Not just what is grabbed by the dry brush, but everything. Again, you could still dry brush 75% of the model, but after you've done that, to make sure that this doesn't turn into a 20-hour paint job for you, go through in the important parts of the model, specifically the dragon's face and those arms, and make sure you get nice, clean definition with your small paintbrush to see those shapes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of color on this miniature. Like the biggest color is maroon, and so I think breaking it up a little bit would be a good idea. Like a lot of people, when they paint dragons, they'll paint like the scales one color and the wing membrane a different color, whether that's a special color or just something neutral like a tan or whatever it may be. That's not a bad idea. Also, his cape is kind of the same exact color as the dragon. It's kind of this maroon, desaturated maroon color. So I think picking different colors out to break up the model a bit more. Like for instance, you have this blue like sigil on the skull of this lantern thing this guy's holding. This is the Storm Cast Eternal model, by the way, riding on a dragon. If you don't know who Ionis Cryptborn is, I think maybe like using that blue again on his cloak. That might be a cool way to kind of break him off of the dragon visually, separate him a little bit. And also, it's an animal. This thing is an animal, so like having some variety to the skin pattern where it makes sense on knuckles, on other areas, to kind of just break it up and make it feel like a little bit more of a real animal might be good.
Yeah, and the easiest way to do that is to, when you do that first base layering step and you're putting down the true tone, so this true burgundy maroon tone, is just go directly over, after you've laid that down, go directly over the parts you want to have some other color in and just put it in now. Put it in before the dry brushing. Put it in before if you're going to add any shades or whatever. So you've established some color change. And, as long as you're not using fully super thick opaque paint, we're dealing with transparent materials here, they will find a level of blending. Do that now, establish the color. It's a lot easier to establish it earlier, and you can walk it back later if you need to, but it's a lot harder to add it too much further down the line. So I agree, add some variation. I also really agree with the different color of that cloak. Adding a contrasting cool color, because his model is warm and it's largely feels like 3 colors. And this is a lot going on for not a lot of color changes. And I appreciate a real tight palette, which he's using a tight palette. But the accent colors need to breathe a little bit more, because everything is warm, and push that cold color a few more places. I agree that the cloak is a perfect spot to do that.
Yeah, he's got cold color eyes on the dragon, and actually a cold black on the beard. So more blue somewhere would be good. You should add some, also, I want to give Chris some credit. On the inside of the wings, he or she did paint a beige on the membrane there. So I actually didn't notice that. So that is happening, but you just can't see it at all because of the way the wings are tucked in on the sides. You can't see any of that cream. So maybe on the outside might be good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is nice when you get to that back view to see the difference on the inside.
Yeah,
which is, I believe, how real dragon wings work. They are lighter on the inside.
Real dragon wings, eh?
Yeah, from my dragon wing research.
We need some uhu glue on these teeth. Am I right?
Yeah, we need a little uhu-hooty. I agree. Or the goblin snot stuff.
Oh yeah. I haven't used that yet, and I heard. I think you told me it works better. It doesn't dry instantaneously when you take it out of the. Yeah.
Its work time is a lot longer, and it doesn't dry brittle. It still, when it's fully dried, it still has a little bit of a give to it, so it's not going to snap when you actually play with the model later. So
okay, nice.
Yeah, so try that. I actually really like this base. I think your composition of the base, showing some different levels of height and different sizes of rocks and the amount of grass tufts, is good. I think it's a well-composed base. It looked like a bunch of the stuff was put on and then not painted, though. But then other stuff was painted. I think a unifying wash over everything would pull all of that together, and then you could then redefine edges or highlights or stuff for where you wanted it to. Also, putting down that thinned wash over grass tufts goes a long way to make them feel realistic and feel part of the base, because right now they just feel like you literally stuck them down, and whatever color they were out of the package is the color you get. It pulls everything in together to feel like it's in the same environment with a quick, even I'd start it thinned. Use an Agrax Earthshade thin 50-50 with water, because that'll help pull it down into all the insides of those tufts and stuff, and then see how that feels. And you could always do a second coat if it didn't pull everything together enough or didn't get dark enough. But again, I really like that base.
Yeah. One brief mention on photography. If we look at the picture of the zoomed in shot of the rider, you can see how the spikes on his I don't know if that's his backrest or part of his armor, the tips of the spikes are bizarrely blurry.
Right.
That happens when you do, I forget the name of the technique, when you take multiple photo stacking, when you put multiple images together and you just happen to miss a few in focus shots of various details. So when you're doing photo stacking, especially on this kind of model where he's pointing his mace at the camera and then he's sitting back further, you got to take no joke, 20 images of various focal distances to really kind of piece the whole thing together. And maybe even more in this case, because you see the wing behind him, that's even way further back. So,
right.
So just keep that in mind. 20, 30 pictures is not a ridiculous amount for something that has this much depth in it. Also, I just noticed the cloak that's under his left arm, I think it's still dry brushed silver. I don't think that got hit with maroon. So make sure to get that area painted. It's just so it breaks up all of the armor on him.
Yeah.
That's my feedback.
It's a little bit I think, again, there's a lot of attention paid to this, and it's a huge model, and so I think it looks good. But just those final things, we're pushing it helping you push it that last 10% of the way.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Well done. Good looking model. Should be proud of it. It's a
Absolutely.
big one, too.
And if you want
big
feedback from us, we do feedback through our Patreon. That's one of a couple of things you get from being a patron of TUP is feedback from us. You get access to an extended episode, the ability to suggest topics for us to discuss, all sorts of cool things, which you can find in the show notes or description below, depending on where you are watching or listening to the podcast.
Yeah, a big thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are amazing. So yeah, it's Goody PP Nation. Join us, one of us, drink the Kool-Aid. All right, TUP Partners number 2. Scott, who do we got?
We got Steamforged. Apparently, they just launched all of the STLs, not all of them, but a lot of the STLs for Guild Ball on My Mini Factory, and it went really well for them. And so they're launching all of the more STLs. I don't know how they're breaking down Wave 1 and Wave 2, but there are even more Guild Ball STLs coming out to My Mini Factory, which I love to hear. I don't know if Steamforged wants me to talk about Guild Ball because maybe that's not their biggest moneymaker, but I don't care. I love it. They do great stuff as beyond just sports games, though. They also make amazing paint through P3, tons of awesome D&D products as well, like one-shots and minis for them and stuff like that. But really, the crown jewel, as we all know, is Guild Ball.
Oh, gosh. Next up is Corvus Belli. And Corvus Belli have been some busy little elves this year. They have brought out new factions for both their games, both Infinity and Warcrow. Multiple new factions for Warcrow that I really dig. The Wood Elves I really like. They got a new kind of like evil undeady faction for Warcrow that I'm really liking the look of. More and more models coming out every single month, it feels like, for both of their games. The new combined army for Infinity looks so badass. So many of those models, you know, they don't hold the JSA number 1 spot in my heart, but they are quickly my number 2 favorite faction for Infinity. So check out their stuff. There's always great things happening over at Corvus Belli.
Next on the list, we have the Army Painter. They have currently a bunch of new paint sets that you can see all on the main website, on Army Painter's site when you first go to the launch page. All sorts of different ways to break down their paint range to accommodate all sorts of cool 40K armies, but even schemes made by alternate painters that are part of their crew, namely Sam Lenz. You can buy the Sam Lenz set of paint for a specific army that he has painted the scheme of, which is freaking awesome. Check out all those great bundles for the holiday season.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the Army Painter Factory team. I was recently on a podcast that is run by 2 of the factory team members called Build, Paint, Play. That's a lot of fun. So if you want to hear me talk about Deck of Many Colors for 2 hours and other hobby stuff, you can check them out. Great guys, part of the Army Painter Factory team. Last but not least, we've got Redgrass Games. We know them. We love them. My favorite model holder on the planet. I talk about why I really like that their model holder so much in the recent video, even though I do also like the Games Workshop one. But one funny thing that I've created with my model holder over the years is this thing, which is basically a piece of cork with a paper clip and some blue tack around it to keep it in place. And this is what I use as my sub-assembly painter. So if I need to paint a head or have things in sub-assemblies, I just keep one of my caps for my Redgrass Games set for sub-assemblies, and you can just have as many caps as you need. So you can be batch painting, you can put down a project and start a new one. Redgrass Games holder, baby.
Awesome. Thank you to all of our awesome partners for supporting our podcast. It's awesome. Okay, on to the topic, which is a lovely topic that John came up with this morning, and that is what this podcast has taught us about hobbying, but also other stuff.
Yeah, this started as something I wanted to mention in the preamble, where I was like, damn, this is the last episode of season 6, meaning we've been doing this podcast now for 6 years. And so I was like, oh, it started off me thinking like, oh, what has happened over 6 years? And, you know, what is our plan for, you know, season 7 next year? So to rip that Band-Aid off quick before we get into the heavy stuff of what we've learned about hobbying and what we've learned about podcasting and life and each other. Season 7, we are going back to in-person podcasting. You can see my dog's floppy head over my shoulder.
Yeah.
We're going back to in-person podcasting for the majority of episodes.
Woo!
As long as we don't have a nasty schedule conflict or terrible weather or something, we have found a way to do that. Well, we may be doing some alternating back and forth from my studio up to Scott's studio. But either way, we see the value and we just have more fun together. Not that we don't have fun doing it this way too, but it's just fun to laugh and hang out being in the same room. That's valuable to us. So that's kind of the big change for 2026. Scott, is there anything else that I'm blanking on?
No, but just the typical. There's gonna be I think one episode that we miss in between seasons, which is like always the case. So just keep that in mind, that there will be one bi-weekly episode that we end up missing as we are setting up our spaces for the in-person stuff, because half of my basement still a total wreck. So I need to. Although I did anticipate shooting the podcast in my house at some point, and so there is another area of my basement where I had contractors install outlets in the ceiling so we can have the cameras rigged up there and not be on the floor and shit like that. So it is set up for greatness.
Yeah, for me, if we're recording here, I have my CRT there with our posters, the Maniac Ninjon posters. And Cow Skull.
Yeah.
That TV has a VCR in it. Can we find a way to take like video of the big TUP logo thing, and we put it on a VHS where it just runs that static picture for however long the VHS tape is, like 33 hours or something, and then it's just running on the CRT behind us?
Yes.
That would be pretty sweet.
Dude, you know who could do that if we send him a digital file?
Jeremy.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremy, we need you.
Yeah, and we should every hour, just some random shit should happen, I don't know. That'd make it fun.
Fight Club, just a random dick just shows, splicing the clip. But that's it, and you'll be along with this. We kind of set this up for the end of the season. I don't know if we did it on purpose. I didn't feel like past us was this smart, but we have our small gap between seasons, very small gap, is right around the holiday season too, which is helpful. One, because it's usually some of the shittiest weather, and two, everything gets hectic around the holidays, and so we'll have one episode break is all, just one. And then we'll be back at it for 2026. But what has this podcast taught us? I jotted down some things, and I'm curious your thoughts on these things as well as anything that I missed. So one of the things that this podcast has really helped me understand is that whether it's through doing patron critiques, whether it's interacting on our TUP Facebook group, whether it's, people mentioning us on Instagram, whether it's your comments down in the YouTube videos, or constant reminder that each of us is on the same journey, but it's not exactly the same journey. Everyone is incredibly unique of how you go about it, and your ebbs and flows, where you entered, where you were in your life when you entered, how you've evolved over the years, and that we share a commonality, and that we're all on a similar journey. But I'm just constantly reminded that we're not all in the same spot. We're all coming into this from different perspectives, and we have different backgrounds, and it's really a nice reminder to just simply see that interaction and responses, and kind of sometimes reminding me that it's like, oh yeah, I need to not take for granted that you have experienced the same things I've experienced. You know the same things I know. You look at something completely different, and neither of us is right or wrong. So I've learned a lot about that over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And the more you put your opinion and your thoughts on things out on the internet, the more you get that feedback loop of pushback. And I find that feedback loop is helpful for me. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's not just me talking to myself in my basement all the time, which is the lives we usually live. So it's very healthy. I think the podcast is really healthy for me to see that.
I totally agree. Yeah, just the content creation journey in general gives you this really interesting bird's eye view of our hobby and all of the different opinions on it. Because even earlier you joked about how I'm pretty sure I'm in the norm on this, or but in reality there's just so many different opinions about so many different things, and we really get a view of that being podcasters, for sure. I totally agree about that.
I've also learned that soon AI, we have enough spoken words on the internet that AI will just be able to make our podcast for us, because
Oh yeah, I look forward to that.
I'm sure that'll turn out just fine.
I mean, we got 6 seasons of content for it to emulate, so we should have done enough by now. I think we can just fully send it. Actually, sad topic. On my way to Meeple-a-thon, I listened to a podcast episode on Colin and Samir of like a large podcast, Diary of a CEO. Have you ever heard Diary of a CEO?
Yeah.
So huge podcast, interviews people who are very successful, very rich, and asks them about their habits, what they're doing, stuff like that. That same team that puts out that podcast also is putting out a fully generated AI podcast just to see the difference between the two podcasts. And sadly, there is not much difference between them in terms of like performance or whatever metrics they're deciding to compare. And that's that's a result. I don't know. Is it a good one? I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly, not to deep dive into all things AI with this, but it certainly is the rich get richer kind of a thing, right?
Maybe,
where it's
yeah.
just like you only can, that only works if you're already established and you already have
Like a team of people.
a team of people and a captive audience that you can rely on those numbers and all that, this, that, and the other. Because if it's just like, you can just shoot out 1 million new podcasts next week that are all AI generated, it's like piranhas eating each other, and this, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, if people want to just hear random famous people talk about stupid bullshit on the internet, that's always been a thing, and that's continued to be a thing. If there's anything we've learned from the first Golden Globe nominees for Best Podcast, it's all just famous people that talk to other famous people. So I don't know.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, all the nominees are fucking Dak Shepherds and Smartless and Amy Poehler and can't remember. It's the daytime talk show, the Oprah Winfrey, the Ellen DeGeneres show, the whatever. It's just that, but podcasting.
Oh, that's so lame, because there are so many like
stupid
grassroots podcasts that are really, really successful and that are not necessarily run by super ultra famous people.
And none of those actually have a point of view of a unique, interesting topic or genre or something. And they're not even like the most viewed podcasts either, or listened to. I'll give you an example of one that I listen to that's on a very specific thing, incredibly popular, like millions and millions of downloads every single episode, by just two awesome ladies. It's called Crime Junkie. It's about murders. It's about unsolved murders, and it's about the cases of these weird, awesome things. Very incredibly popular. But it's not famous people talking with other famous people, and they have a whole team of researchers and journalists or whatever, and then like they do a ton of heavy lifting for every one of these episodes. And I'm just like, really? They're not on there? They have more average views than half the people on that list. But I don't know. It's Hollywood doing anyway, this has nothing to do with our podcast. I'm mostly just pissed we weren't up there.
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Come on.
Oh, hold on.
Come on.
Call Her Daddy was also on the Golden Globes podcast, and Call Her Daddy is definitely a grassroots podcast. So that is good. They snuck one in there.
Who is that? Is that a comedian?
I don't know her name. It used to be a duo that did Call Her Daddy, and then it got scooped up by the guy who does the pizza reviews. What's the fuck's his name? He has
the Barstool Sports guy.
Barstool Sports bought Call Her Daddy.
That's right.
The two co-hosts had a falling out, and now it's just one of them who does that under Barstool Sports. But that's definitely an OG podcast that just kind of came up just because of popularity of their own making.
Yeah. I mean, the one that the first one that shows up that I have on here is Victoria Beckham on Call Her Daddy, Cardi B on Call Her Daddy, Kim Kardashian on Call Her Daddy.
No, it's popular. It's popular for sure. So they have the chops to get big people. But the woman who is running it, she didn't come from fame. That's my point, I guess I should say.
Okay, it said here's the breakdown. It says this show started with explicit sex talk with co-host Sophia Franklin. It shifted to in-depth interviews exploring mental health, career, and personal growth. Features major celebrities and pop culture icons.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, but you're right. That's not didn't start the same. You're right. That was grassroots. That became a thing because of not just because of celebrities. So
Sure.
I'll give you half. You get half credit.
Anyways, TUP.
Anyway, as our podcast,
What we learned.
the next big thing I have is that, and I think this is the key. This is the bloodline. This is it. This is TUP. This is why TUP needs the award. I learned that energy and passion for this hobby is contagious. I learned that when Scott is excited about something, he's laughing about something. It makes me excited. It makes me have fun. It makes me remind me, even if it's not about the exact same thing. We have fun because we both love this hobby, and so therefore we're talking about it, and it goes down all sorts of weird ways. Don't worry, that's a bullet point later. But it's contagious, and I find that like there's a level of, I guess if there's one thing that if I look at these 6 years that there's two things that I'm very proud of from this. One of them is going to have its own separate bullet point later, but the other one is the pride that I have of us actually having done something of some value in the world is that our energy and excitement and passion for this hobby, we get to reach out with other people that have that same thing. And sometimes your passion, your feedback, your ideas for topics, your minis you submit, your comments, that closes that loop for us, and it helps me like feel your excitement and passion as well. But like that's why it's two of us. And that's why most of the time it's just Scott and I, because it's just so awesome. Just that's often all we need. That spark is just so fun, and it works, and I just love it. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you're totally right. Would you say that you, in some ways, rely on the podcast for, I don't know if I want to say, I don't necessarily want to say keeping the hobby interesting, because like, that's a lot of weight to put on it, but like, does it keep you engaged in the hobby like more than if it didn't exist? Or I don't know really what I'm asking here. Do you rely on it in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially when COVID hit and you didn't have the regular group to play games with or do regular hobby nights, and then that was slow coming back, it's been a way to just sit and chat about the thing that I really love with another person that really loves it. And I don't do that much of that in my day-to-day life. It's either this or with our small group of friends that are also passionate hobbyists that are usually it's a group chat, right? It's not very much in person, which is one of the reasons why I find conventions are so awesome. And I think they're very healthy to do a couple of year to get that in-person energy and buzz and everything from a larger group of people that are passionate. But this allows me to do that on a regular basis. And even sometimes listening back to an episode and double checking things or whatever, like I'm like, oh yeah, like that gets me energized just listening to us talk. And you mentioned something and I was like, oh yeah, I was going to go back and look at that because that sounded super cool, and like, oh, I opened a tab on that. I'm going to go check that. It's like, it gets me, engaged. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think for multiple reasons. On one hand, like we have a segment in our podcast where we talk about new things that we've tried out in the hobby. And also just a segment where we talk about, what we're working on. And like just having those things and wanting to have something to say during the podcast has encouraged me to engage in the hobby when maybe I wouldn't have, just that I'd be able to talk about something and have something interesting to bring to the table and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know if I'd call it a pressure, but it's like a good like motivating push to be engaged in the hobby, to have something new to bring to the podcast all the time. But yeah, definitely like when you're like, pretending to be into miniature wargaming, it gets me excited as well. So it's absolutely infectious.
I think it's a healthy level of accountability is what I feel. It's like, and I think all of us could feel that too, because if you listen to this podcast, you have a connection with the miniature hobby, whether it's real strong this week or it's been on a pretty big lull the last 6 months. But you have a connection, and this is at least your your way to stay with your finger on the pulse and to not let it fade off into a hobby that you just don't engage with at all anymore. And that's really valuable to me. Is the more that I talk about it, the more I get to talk to other people about it, the more it's top of mind, the more I find more excitement about the next project, or I get more excited about looking at other people's paintings and seeing how I want to learn from that kind of thing. I think that's really valuable to just keep it at arm's reach at all times.
Yeah. Hey, you got some good topics here. I don't know if I'm gonna have anything to contribute. I think these are all just good enough.
Yeah. The next one, it feels like it's pretty close to the last one. The next one was talking about what you love with others is valuable. I learned that. Maybe it's similar, but I think it's maybe just a more specific, poignant thing, that having somebody in your life to share your hobby with, to talk about it with, that is also engaged or interested in it, is a very valuable thing. Without this podcast, I would not on a regular basis talk to another person so much, about the hobby. I just wouldn't. It's just, it's very little. Couple of guys locally I talk to, my wife doesn't give a shit. Like, talking to you and Vince and Sam and Ben and stuff occasionally, but those are more, sporadic and little nibbles. But this is kind of a really talking, and I think that's valuable.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Another thing, getting perspective when you get too serious or sweaty. Sometimes I get a little bit in the weeds on things, and I get a little bit fiery. I got this from my dad. My dad can be very fiery about things, and I'm reminded in day-to-day life by my wife that he's like, you need to tone down the intensity, and that intensity helps me in this hobby in some ways. But also, like, it's good to not take it so seriously and to not get so intense or so dug in on your thoughts, especially because this hobby is so kind of socially removed from other people most of the time. So you kind of sit and stew in your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own perspectives, your own opinions, and talking about it or hearing other people's opinions helps me not be a crazy person. So
yeah, I definitely get that. And like one thing that the podcast has taught me is I feel like the basis of our friendship is how similar we are. And really what that means is we are into a lot of the same things, like the same aesthetic, the same hobbies, the same, like maybe even some of the same movies, maybe in some of the same genres of music and stuff like that. But despite all those similarities, we are very different, you and I, like in a lot of different ways. And I actually think that creates this really amazing dichotomy in the podcast where we have very different perspectives on stuff sometimes. And so you'll bring a thing up, I may push back a little bit on it, and then you'll do the same for me. I'm not really, I guess what this has taught me is that John and I are different in substantial ways, but also similar in many other ways as well. Whereas maybe before I was like, oh, we're all the same. But, that isn't necessarily, true. But I think it does create a very interesting conversation all the time.
That's a really good point. I think after year one and even after year two, I would not have had that same perspective that we have now on that.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's taken time and that evolved naturally.
Yeah.
And I really like that, which kind of leads into my next one, which is there will never be a day when we run out of topics.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. And here's a great example where Scott and I think differently about things. Scott is usually the one of the two of us that is stressed out about having a banger of a topic every episode.
Yeah.
And I'm usually the one that's like, we'll figure it out. We'll have fun. Like, yeah. And that doesn't mean that I'm not doing work or I'm not engaged or I don't care. I do very much care. But what other connected to this is the thing over the last 6 years. And I look back on the thing that I think is the most successful and how I define success is had the most fun. People bring it up. It's talked about in the comments.
Sure. That's good.
It's talked about at conventions. It's yelled to us walking down the hall at Adepticon. It's not about the topic. It's about the stuff that comes from us just being weirdos, somewhat related to the hobby.
It's the ape sounds.
So, yeah. that's Trapped under bananas. So that's what I've learned is that we still want to have unique takes. We still want to have unique topics. Still want to look at things a different way. Still want to grab something that we've never discussed before. But I am no longer stressed out about if it's not completely 100% unique take, new idea, never been discussed before, or we've never touched on it, that if that doesn't exist, then we're in trouble. I think that, and even more so, I'm really interested about, the next 6 years, say that, where it evolves, because eventually more and more of those like pillars, we definitely have to do an episode on that, are going to have faded off. So does it look like we revisit things with our new level of perspective and the more years we've been doing this and where we're at with the hobby and how the hobby has evolved, how the hobby community has evolved? Do we revisit and look at that? Does the total format of the podcast evolve again over those next 6 years? I don't know. I mean, because it's evolved. We look at year one, what the format of the podcast was. It's about 70% changed from then. So, there's key points we hit, but I think that's like, I've learned that, like, okay, if a thing works, it works, and you just find a way not to steal its thunder, to just go with the current.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's funny that you talk about the main topic. I feel like the majority of my brain power for the podcast is donated to figuring out how to get rid of the main topic as like a thing in our podcast. Because I agree, I don't think it's an important thing for the podcast, and maybe people would agree with that. And it's like, how do we make a compelling bi-weekly podcast without it? And maybe the answer is just simply to get rid of it altogether. But it is a constant thing for me where it's like, I want something interesting to talk about. I feel like for me, it's like the meat and potatoes of the episode, but maybe it's not. So I don't know.
Yeah, I look at it, there's value in that. It gives us some direction, because podcasts are two different. There's two different styles in general of podcasts. The most common one is the guest podcast, where you don't have to have a topic. The topic is the guest, and wherever that goes, or you may have a specific reason, specific thing you want to talk about with that guest. But that in and of itself creates the what makes each episode unique is the different guest. The other ones are the consistent ones like this, and you either go with the main topic that is constantly changing, and oftentimes those are reflections of world events, news, updates, and it can be more specific to your to your niche. Right? It's the video game news. What has been the big things, the games that have been launched or announced or whatever. The news side of this hobby is not what really excites me or interests me that much. And I love to, we will talk about it if it hits our radar and we think it's valuable to talk about, but that's not the key thing. I think it's just us shooting the shit and finding, when we have some direction, a starting off point. We don't need to know the whole map, but we have a starting off point that gives us a new perspective. I think there's some value. There's value in that too. So,
okay.
Next one, working with a partner, even a close friend, takes work. We have over the last 6 years, Scott and I, we've had ups and downs. We've had highs and lows in the first couple years, because it was all fresh and new and everything, and any level of success or viewership was all gravy, because this kind of thing didn't exist when we first started, and we were just happy that anybody listened, and so it was all, sunshines and rainbows. But at a certain point, we were like, we would be like, how do we evolve? How are we keeping the workload balanced? How are we having good communication with each other outside of these 2 hours that we record? And we're not always very good at that. And we've sometimes struggled, and we've had frustrations, and we've, things have festered, and we haven't talked about it, and things have boiled over. And I think the cool thing is, to me, was even with those times, it was like, I feel like when we came together from them and we learned a way to work through them, we learned a way to communicate better. We understood that they're going to always happen, but that's not the end of the world. And if we go through it together, that we're stronger on the other side. And I do think that when we talk about going back to in-person podcasting, that's a big thing too, because spending time together with your business partner is very important. The unfortunate thing with this podcast is we are so busy on a day-to-day basis. That's a word. Outside of anything with the podcast. And so to give it its time, to give it its priority for us to do that is really, really important.
Yeah, that it is a challenge. It takes work. We have to make specific choices that create time for the podcast that is necessary for us to like plan everything out and, make sure that, everything is as fair as it can be in terms of like, who's doing the work and who's doing what elements. And sometimes one of us does more work than the other and it goes back and forth, and the ability to have an open and healthy dialogue between both of us about the way we're feeling about certain things so that, we can feel like it's okay to be like, hey, like, I need you to take this thing off my plate because I can't handle it right now. Or like, hey, I need you to be able to communicate better about when you're not able to record at our normal recording time because it messes up my schedule and stuff like that. And like, there's like, I'm not the greatest planner. My project management skills are dog shit, and that's caused issues for you in the past. And it's stuff I have to learn and get better at. And likewise for you, it's back and forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a two-way street. And make no mistake, we haven't figured it out.
No, it's not a well-oiled machine. No,
it is not. But I think over the last 6 years, I think in the last 2 years, we have identified it better and more like responsibly than we ever have. And I think identifying and trying to be proactive is the first step, and we're to that step. And so we're going to continue to try to do that.
Yeah.
But it's also tough because, quite frankly, most of the time, what we talked about earlier, every decision you make on your YouTube channel is your decision to make. And we're used to doing that. We've both been doing that now for a long time. Scott, twice as long as me. That's been the norm. And then the podcast, you're like, whoop, I can't just do that. Like, we have to communicate. We have to, what are your thoughts? And, and like asking for help and stuff. And we're still not great for asking each other for help. I always feel terrible for asking you for help because I know you're busy, just as busy as I am. And so we just have to continue to do our best with that. But that is a big thing that I have learned is like, this is more work from us working together than simply, hit record and have fun.
Right.
The hit the record and have fun is the great part. It's this other stuff we need to learn.
Yeah. I think, the podcast is going through its own mini content creation journey right now, where in the beginning it was a very passion-led experience and it was pretty easy to do. And, doing the work didn't feel like work because it was just fun. And now it's getting to a place of maturity where it's like, okay, we need to like have a monthly meeting where we discuss the topics and discuss, another thing we should do is in that monthly meeting, a little bit, let's do a little work with the viewers here. We should plan the specific recording dates. And we already said this. Yeah. Just look at our calendars during that meeting and be like, okay, this time, this day at this time. So it's not like, I wake up in the morning to a message from John at 6 a.m. It's like, hey, you want to record the podcast at 8? And it's like, what? Like, yeah. So
I'm writing that down in our business doc right now. And the dates for the next month's episodes.
There, we just solved the problem. Easy.
Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, we got that. Oh, problem solved. Yeah. So that was that's something that I thought when I look back at what this podcast has taught us is that's actually not about the hobby, but it kind of is though. Come with me on this journey. So
okay.
if you only get knee deep into the hobby yourself at home, just for the fun stuff, just for I'm going to sit down and I'm going to paint this entire unit, but you don't do the other things that are needed for those to happen. Well, you prioritize your schedule, make sure that dinner's on the table, make sure you can pay the bills, make sure, all these things get done. so you can block out that time for yourself, and that you're budgeting each month so you're spending the right amount or not spending amount on the hobby and all that kind of stuff. If you don't do the adulting stuff, one, you get further and further away from the fun stuff and you don't get to do it as often, or two, that kind of oversaturates the fun stuff and can kind of poison it. You don't want it to get to that point. So, just finding a balance there so that you can get to the thing that you're passionate about and not feel guilty about doing that, and still do it on enough regular basis that fits into your schedule. I think that's valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing, inside jokes are the fucking best, and the goody peepees are just as weird as us.
Or we hope they are.
Early on in the lifespan of this podcast, we would just have our own weird inside jokes, or we would just talk about shit that had nothing to do with miniature painting or whatever. It somehow was connected in our weird brains. And that's the stuff we laughed hardest about. That's the stuff that we enjoy the most. That's the stuff I look back at, and that's the most fun. That's kind of the lifeblood on my eyes. But the surprising thing that I learned was that we did that for us, but that's the stuff that it seemed people liked too. And thank God, because if that wasn't for that, I don't know, we wouldn't still be doing this.
Yeah.
Because when we get together, that's the weird shit we talk about anyway.
Right.
So we couldn't really avoid that,
Yeah. I think that definitely, that makes the podcast, I think, to me feel like personal and like not just like, okay, we're news anchors talking about the daily hobby news and stuff like that, and also whatever the topic is. I think that's really where the format of podcasts for me shines brightest, is like you have this longer amount of time in long form content to really engage with something, whether it's a topic, whether it's a person, and that's what we should be doing, honestly.
Yeah, trapped under bananas. We should get monkey suits to wear at Adepticon, and then we just run around with monkey suits with trapped under plastic T-shirts on.
That's the episode where Roman Lapat is the guest. We're all in fucking ape suits.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We need Roman on, and we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. They can't be that expensive on Amazon, right?
Roman Lapat
suits.
Oh, great.
Right. Yeah. Roman Lapat. Yeah. I think. There's a lot of them in Germany just wandering the countryside.
Yeah.
Wild Roman Lapats. Oftentimes they're not clothed though, because they're used to living in nature.
Yeah.
And they just have twigs and sticks around their waists.
Yeah.
So we might need to wash them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might need to wash them up. Their fingers are covered in paint. Yeah, that's the wild Roman Lapats. Okay, yeah. That's it. It's this is not a serious freaking hobby. This is painting toy soldiers in your basement for fun, then make believe in battles out on the table, and laughing with your friends while you play games. And that is what this podcast ended up becoming, us talking in that same kind of vein, and we're pretty happy with that.
Absolutely.
The next one, we all basically want the same thing out of this hobby, or do we?
I would say we do not.
My first thought was, I thought very early on in this podcast that everybody kind of was on their own separate thing, and it was completely different. The hardcore gamers, the people that don't care about painting Warhammer other than because they're required to, the people that only paint display models, the people that are just trying to learn and they'll figure it out as they go. I think that there was all totally separate. But over time, I feel like, I don't know. I think we have a lot more in common than we do that separates us. And maybe this is just my reflection on the world as a whole. But
are you hitting us with some philosophy right now, dude? Some hobby philosophy?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Hobby philosophy.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, this is a thing that we do in our spare time to get enjoyment, something that we're passionate about from our nerdy side. And however it kind of shows itself for us can evolve over time. You could start off as being really only interested in playing the game, or really only interested in the lore. And you could go on the hobby side of really want my armies to look better. And then maybe you jump to a totally different game, or maybe you just get into reading the books, or maybe you really want to enter the tournament scene, or maybe you decided just like, oh, I want to really paint for Golden Demon. Like, you didn't need to figure it all out over your entire journey or where you're at today But I think that all kind of boils down to the same thing: is you have a passion for this hobby, and you're just trying to like bottle that passion in the spare time that you have and enjoy it because it makes you happy. And the specifics of it are less important than just following that happiness, where what excites you and what makes you happy now. And I don't think I would have thought about it that way before. So I think it's more that we're on the same track than we are different. And what ties us together is there is the miniatures, the games, the art side, all that. They're all in a little bunch, but they do have their own little separate sections. But I think they're all pretty closely tied.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think when you step back and you look at it from more of, I guess, a kind of a blown up angle like that does make sense for sure. We're all trying to, well, I don't know, because like some people paint, engage with the hobby to like relax and stuff like that, and that's not what I do. Like I'm there to like, you know, do something creative, and it's an expenditure of my energy to do that. So it's not relaxing at all. Would you say those two experiences are the same?
Yeah, because I think when you boil it down, the final outcome is the same. It's for a level of satisfaction for something you've done, right? That you feel pride or satisfaction and joy. Now, the joy may only come at the very end if you are just trying to get it done to be able to have the models on the table and painted, as opposed to someone that's using it for a relaxing, de-stressing process over 2 hours tonight. They may feel a slow drip of that joy all the way through even keel. To someone that's trying to learn, it goes in spikes, where I take a step back and I realize that I made a little bit of a breakthrough, or I'm happy with how this is looking, and then there's a little spike, and then there's a lull where I'm like, it just doesn't look good, or I'm not enjoying painting the fucking boots, and whatever. And then you get a spike when you get the base rim all painted, but at the end, it's you know, the journey is different, but you're still kind of looking for that same thing, I think, or some definition of that same thing.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. I can see how that would, you know, be similar. Are there rings on your dog's back?
He's losing his hair.
What's happening?
I don't know. He's alert. He's got allergies. And so he gets crusty skin. He loses his hair, and I had him on steroids over the summer and fall, and it was completely cleared up. But you can't have your dog on steroids all the time,
right?
So I weaned him off, and now they've come back, and so I've changed in the process of changing his food, adding fish oil pills. He gets like 7 fish oil pills every meal, and we're trying to figure this out because the vets don't have any answers for me either. So so he's got like rings where it looks like he's got like ringworm on his back, but it's just like patches of spots where he lost his fur.
Okay.
Poor dog.
Okay. Yeah. Our dog has weird dry skin as well, and fish oil. Yeah. And it's like 1 tablespoon per 10 pounds. So I gave him 7 tablespoons of fish oil in his food crusher. It just seems like so fucking much. But yeah. All right. Anyways, back to the podcast. The last one you have here is really interesting.
Yeah. The last one, and this was the thing that when I said there was 2 things that I look back at this podcast, and the things that I think are most important, the things that I value the most, and this is the second one, is I think I took our chemistry and how much fun this is for granted early on. I kind of thought we just love the same kind of stuff. We can sit and talk, just the 2 of us in a room, and have a blast and laugh. And that means that's kind of universal. That is not the case. I think that the chemistry that we have and the fun that we have when I've either gone on other podcasts or now that Vince and I have a RPG podcast, our chemistry is completely different. And he's got a lot less bandwidth for my bullshittery.
I knew you were going to say bullshit.
Because I am the chaos goblin, and I just lob little grenades, and
he just fucking swats them away. He's like, "The fuck that shit out of here, dude."
He acknowledges and then back on track.
He's like, yes. Anyways, Stormcast Eternal. No, I mean no. RPGs.
And it's a totally different chemistry, and it's a totally different thing, and it works in its own way. But like, I really just, and when I watch other podcasts and I listen to other podcasts, and whether it's in the hobby space or not, some people just have it and some people don't. And we didn't like, I think part of the reason why I think I took it for granted is because like we weren't friends for 20 years before we started this podcast. So we had all this like built up like chemistry. It was not that long after we'd met in the grand scheme of things. And so it's kind of, I guess I've grown to appreciate it more, that it is something that I should be proud of, because I am proud of it. And I just never really looked at it that way before. So
it is shocking how it just kind of worked out, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of ways it doesn't work out like that, but yeah, like, I don't know. Before you had a YouTube channel, we decided to make a podcast that we have continued to do for 6 fucking years. And it's just like, you know, you take a step back and you really say that out loud. It's shocking. I feel like it's you know, like, I feel like 9 out of 10 times this would just fizzle out and not be a thing after like year 2 or whatever it is. But here we are 6 years later and it still is a thing. I think that's really like either luck or hard work or a combination of the two.
Well, yeah, I think it is a combination of the two. I think that it would, because I don't want to sell short all the work that went into this and the routine and when we talk about that you and I are very similar, the very much the same person. That is no fault of either of ours. That has worked against us as a partnership because we both have the same fucking blinders in certain areas.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's not like, yeah, but I'm really bad at this, but Scott's good at it. So we kind of have this natural balance of yin and yang. And it's just like, no. The both of us are way over here in fucking Clown Fiestaville, you know, picking our nose and eating cotton candy, and nobody's driving the fucking bus. So the fact that it's worked despite all that is like, you know, I don't know. You know, we've had to put in a lot more to like try to keep our shit together.
Yeah, that is definitely true. But it's somehow still working out.
Yeah, I still look forward to it. You know, even when life is super busy and I'm stressed out about like, oh, God damn it, I got to record the podcast in the morning. How am I going to have time to start doing all this other stuff? As soon as we get on the call together, as soon as I pull into your driveway or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I'm doing this. It's so much fun. And I think
that's really nice.
That's the key. That's fun. This is fun. I think it will always be fun.
I hope so. That would be amazing. Honestly, that would be amazing. Could you imagine doing this in 20 years, bro?
Dude, I don't want to know what weirdness this will have evolved into.
Yeah.
We're just in gorilla suits all the time.
Just making ape sounds for 2 hours straight.
We just become VTubers, and there's just anime booby girls as pictures of us, and we're making fart jokes in the back.
Yeah, let's see AI replicate this utter dog shit, dude.
Yeah. You can't slap together anything that's going to be weirder than what we're going to become on our own.
Exactly.
We'll evolve beyond you. As soon as they think that they can corner us, we're just going to take a sharp left.
See, that's how content creation works. Like, people find a trend and they chase it, and then the person who then finds the new thing is someone who's doing something different, right? And so all the AI podcasts are going to get so good, so clean, so perfect, beautiful imagery, beautiful concepts, and then people just are just going to want some dumbassery, you know, just some total, like, I want to feel like when I'm watching this, I become subhuman, you know, and that'll be TUP. It'll be the podcast for subhumans.
Yeah, someone better put that in, so we put that as the intro for episode 7. Podcast for subhumans.
Awesome.
I don't ever understand though why anyone, I mean AI in general, but like how anyone would find any value in knowing that I'm listening to a computer just spit out data from an algorithm to have a conversation that's not by two humans, when the whole point of long form content is to gathering interesting perspectives and funny moments and everything unpredictable and someone's own life experiences, all these things that tie into consciousness and soul and this, that, and the other. All of those things just don't exist. And you want to listen to that? It's just like, I would rather stick my head in the microwave and turn it on. Like, why is that interesting at all? I could not agree with you, or I could not be interested in your topic at all, but at least your own perspective, your own human being with your own voice and your own background that brought you to this moment to where this is why you're saying what you're saying, or completely surprising me by not seeing that coming. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is Trapped Under Plastic, 6 years in. Dun.
Welcome to the end of the podcast. Thank you for hanging out all the way to the end. Oh, Joey's doing it again. Okay. Lovely book ending there. We start as apes, we end as apes. If you're an ape like us and you want to give us some of your bananas, we accept them in multiple forms, both free bananas and not free bananas. Okay, I'm losing it.
What does a free banana look like, Scott?
It's moldy. It's at the front of the grocery store when you walk in, and it's like, please take it off our hands. We don't want this banana. So if you want those kinds of bananas, well, if you have those kinds of bananas, you want to give them to us, you can do that in the form of watching our podcast on YouTube with ads enabled. You can tell your nerd friends about our podcast, share the love, give us a review wherever you're listening to the podcast. Those are all fantastic ways to support the podcast. If you've got some cash to spend, some fresh nanas.
Fresh nanners.
We want them fresh nanas. You can spend them on Teespring to get some of our merch, on Patreon, which we discussed in the past, to get extended portions of the podcast. I've been doing it all 6 years, so there's a big backlog to catch up on if you would like to, give us those nanas.
Them nanas. Yeah, if your nanas are black and nasty, turn them into nana bread. It's all about learning here on podcast Trapped Under Plastic. 6 years of making banana bread out of shriveled black bananas. We'll be back after a little mini break for Season 7, Episode 1. Until then, we'll catch you on the
Flippity flop.